Hey everyone, and welcome back yet again to another Creative Lab session. In this session, we are going to be diving deeper into Google's Gemini. I'm going to be showing you exactly why you should be using Gemini and all of its insane features. First of all, let's discuss what makes Gemini special. Gemini in the basis is the exact same as every other language model. It works the same as, say, for example, a ChatGPT or a Claude. And recently, Google has made many updates to Gemini to make it even more compatible. And I would even personally say that the main reason why most people are using ChatGPT is because they were the first to ever do it. And that's why it was super complicated for Google to match these different things, because everything went so fast. You can imagine that they wanted to see how it was actually done with privacy, how it was done with copyright issues, and they generally wanted to do it properly. And now we finally reached the point where Google's Gemini is just as good and just as useful as ChatGPT with all of its features. And that is what we will be discussing today. Alright, now with how to get started with Gemini. If it's the first time ever using it, you will go to gemini.google.com and log in with your Google account. If you don't have one already, you can make one for free, but I'm going to assume most people have a Google account. So now that you've logged in, you can actually instantly start using it just like a ChatGPT with 2.5 Flash. This is your all-round base model, but I will go into further detail a little later. You have unlimited access on this with the free account, but if you have the pro account, you can also use the better features that I'll be talking about later as well. So now that we are in Gemini, we can start the exact same as any other AI chatbot. We have published an AI prompting guide, which I will link down below. Typing is not the only form that you can actually input a prompt. You can also talk to the AI through the microphone button. This does mean it will still fill out a prompt, but it will listen to your text and type out a prompt for you. Alright, now I think it's important to talk about the difference between the 2.5 Flash and the 2.5 Pro. If you haven't watched this other video that we've made about all the different models and what all the features have, I would really suggest watching the other videos to get a clear understanding of what different models mean. But it is very simple. Gemini has made it super easy to tell the difference. There is only two models, 2.5 Flash and 2.5 Pro. Like the name suggests, one is the faster version for your everyday use, one is the Pro for the more extensive questions. It will even tell you a short description when selecting the model that 2.5 Flash is for fast all-round help and 2.5 Pro is for reasoning, maths, and code. So in about 80 to 90% of the time, you're probably going to be using 2.5 Flash, which is free for all users. But if you want to get more extensive and in more detail, you're going to have to use 2.5 Pro for research and for coding. This comes down to the same principles as a ChatGPT 4.0 or a 0.3. One has reasoning, so it will think about its own steps, and one does not. It is generally pre-trained. Now we will move on to one of the more powerful features of Gemini, and that is the file upload. Gemini is a multimodal AI, which means it can understand and view different types of files. It can understand text, but also videos and audio. The impressive thing is that it can read over 1,000 pages of a PDF file and still understand the full context of it. Besides this, it can actually also analyze between 1 and 3 hours of a video. It could technically do up to about 7 hours of video, but then the quality and the resolution would be lower, which would also mean the analyzation of the video or the watching of the video would also be worse. And for audio, it can do a total of 9.5 hours. And the great thing about Gemini is that it's obviously a Google product, which means that you can link other Google products to it. I will go into more detail in just a second, but with importing files, you can also add them straight from your drive. Then we will move on to the next option within Gemini, which is deep research. Deep research works the exact same as in the different other AI models. However, I do have one thing to say. I think the deep research within Gemini works a lot better because of one thing. When trying to do deep research, you are researching certain topics individually. You're going to really hammer down on one topic and investigate it and do deep research on that one topic. What Gemini will actually do is when you give it a topic and you click the deep research button, it will give you a deep research plan. In this plan, it will show you all the steps that it's going to take in its research. You can technically edit this. Most of the times you're just going to click yes, it's fine, and then it will start doing its research. So for an example, I'm going to do deep research on the Eiffel Tower. I'm going to click send. Obviously, I've not done much with the prompt, so it's just going to take the Eiffel Tower as a whole. It will take a second to actually start the research, and as you can see, it will give you the comprehensive plan of attack. So it will say it will research different websites, analyze the results, create a report, and it'll be ready in a few minutes. Then you can either edit plan, or you can click Start Research, at the bottom it also says try again without deep research, but we are going to start the research. As you can see, it will open a second window in which you can actually follow the thinking of the model. So it will first research those websites that it said at the start, and you can follow along with the process. You can also just let this run on the side and you don't have to be actively watching it. So we are actually going to be doing the same thing. I'm going to let this research run while I go on a different window and start doing some different research. So now we will actually move on to one of my favorite features, and I think one of the most powerful features within Gemini. It's called Canvas. And Canvas allows you to, for example, run code or create files within Gemini itself. This means we can ask it to, for example, create a two-player snake game that plays autonomously against itself. Make sure it doesn't kill itself and try to go on for as long as possible. Obviously, this is not going to be a quality prompt, but I'm just going to show you the power of it. So we've said this, it's going to create it the same way as it does this deep research. And because we've selected Canvas, you will see in a second that it will open this second window. So here is the second window. You can see the code being written as we speak. And at the top, there is a different code/preview window. Whenever it is done, it will actually run the code and it will show us the preview. So we've started the prompt at 11:57 and it is still 11:57. So even within the minute, it has already created the game. So I'm going to click Start Game and watch it run. Oh, something went wrong. It will actually show you to fix the error. You could show the console if you wish. But if I click Fix Error, it will go on its own, think about what went wrong, look at the code, and fix it on its own. So now it has just switched over to 11:58, so it's been still about 1 minute. And now we can start the game again, and it will actually play against each other. But wait, there is a bug. The snakes can actually go into each other. What we can do now is we can just type in, the snakes are colliding, and the game isn't ending. Just as simple as that. I've just explained what's going wrong and what I would like to change. And now it's going to take that and actually look at the code and see, all right, why are they not ending when it's colliding? All right, this is 11:59. We have basically not spent any time. And now we will see if it actually ends. There you have it. They actually crashed into each other and you can see that it's ended and that the second snake has won. Another amazing feature of this is these buttons right up here. There is version control. So you can, with one button, go back to the previous version of the code in which the snakes did not die when they got into a collision, which means that you can endlessly put in more prompts if you want to change stuff. And if it doesn't do what you like, you can just go back to the previous version. To show you once again, obviously it does sync to the cloud, it saves all the changes, and you can read the code as well if you would like to, in which you can make changes like the color, for example, but you can also just type that in the prompt. And if you would really like to analyze it, you can obviously also show the recent changes in which it will actually highlight, let me see, it will actually highlight what it changed, what it removed, what it added. So you could technically learn from this as well. So now that we've done this, I'm actually going to go back to our research to the Eiffel Tower. And you can see it has created a very long and extensive summary with all of its sources about the Eiffel Tower. And because this can be very boring to read with all this different text, there is different options you can create. And I love this feature. There is different things that you can create. You could create a web page from this that you can actually just visit a site, which will actually be hosted in the same Gemini. You can create an infographic. An infographic obviously shows all the different data, which might be useful for your own useful cases. You can also create a quiz if you would like to learn about a certain topic. It is also fun to quiz yourself on it. And then the best feature is the audio overview. The audio overview, it will actually go in and generate a podcast with multiple hosts talking about your subject. But if you're interested in what a result of an audio overview might sound like, I will also link that down below. All right, let's move on to the next feature. So let's say you've generated a very long piece of text. Just like within ChatGPT, there's a bunch of different options at the bottom. You could redo it with a different prompt. You could export it. You could like it or dislike it, which will basically just teach the AI if it was a bad response or a good response. But you can also, same as in ChatGPT, you could listen to the reply. So it will just use text-to-speech to tell you what the reply was. But again, a feature that gets overlooked and I don't think many people know about is the double check response. If you click this on a response from Gemini, it will search on Google to if the data that it shows got referenced in other sources. So right now it's going to prepare the different results and you'll see exactly what I mean in just a second. All right, here we are. So what it will actually show you is different text highlighted in green that has actually found that information online. And you can click it to find a link where it sourced it from. There's also warnings, but these are sometimes incorrect. You can always check them to see if the information that it gave you was actually correct. But 9 out of 10 times it's just going to be a misunderstanding of more recent data and older data. And here at the bottom, there's actually a little segment which you can understand the results in. The green text is Google search found context that's likely similar to the statement. And with the warnings, it's Google search found content that is likely different from the statement, or it didn't find relevant content. And you might be wondering, why would I double check an answer? Is it not trustworthy the first time? Of course it is, but it's always good to double check where your sources came from. Alright, we've talked about this previously before, but obviously Gemini is from Google, so it has a bunch of Google integrations. If you go here on the left to the settings and help, and you go to apps, you'll actually see that you could technically connect your GitHub for a different coding project, but you can connect your full Google workspace in which you can find different information from your Gmail, your Google Calendar, your Google Docs, your Google Keep, your Google Drive, and different Google Tasks. This means you can actively ask questions about different documents, about different emails, and you can actually set up replies from them. So if we make the comparison between Gemini and ChatGPT, it is basically the exact same, but even more features with Google integrations. But what ChatGPT also has is custom ChatGPTs, and Gemini has its own solution for that. It's called Gemini Gems. You can explore the gems on the left side, and there's a bunch of different ones. But you can also create your own new gems by just clicking on this button on its own. This works the exact same as a custom ChatGPT bot, so I'm not going to go into detail, but you can create them, and I did want to show that it also has that feature. The only thing that ChatGPT has that Gemini does not offer is different projects in which you can add multiple people to the same folder in which you can use the same AI. But then again, that is such a small feature that I've personally never had to use it within ChatGPT, and the limitations are also within ChatGPT that you don't have deep research or different tools. So to put it all together, like I've just mentioned, Gemini is very, very strong. It has a bunch of different options and it is basically the same as ChatGPT. It is just as user-friendly, and I would even say in some cases easier to use. The fact that you only have 2 models to choose from between Flash and Pro makes it a lot easier to choose what models to use when. The fact that it can understand a bunch of different files and large documents makes it very easy to import data from yourself so it has a context understanding. The Canvas feature, with its different version control, it's very useful when trying to learn how to code, but also just coding in general. And all of that combined with the Google Workspace integration makes it that this is the main model I would suggest to use.